between atoms, and then hydrogen bond are bonds between atoms of different molecules. Right? Then we looked at the molecules, right? We said the molecules are grouped into two. We have inorganic molecules or inorganic compounds. What are the different inorganic compounds? You have water, oxygen, CO2, acids, bases, and salts. What's the most abundant inorganic compounds? Water. And I told you, you need to know the atoms that make up each compound. Right? Maybe instead of the word water, you're going to see H2O, etc. Then after we looked at the inorganic, we looked at the different organic compounds. We started with polysaccharides. What are polysaccharides? Carbohydrates. What's the basic building blocks of carbohydrates? Glucose. What are the atoms you need to make glucose?
Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen.
Okay, so you remember the function of carbohydrates. That's the main source of energy. We said it's our main source, but we don't eat constantly. That's why we store it. And I told you to know the terms glycogenesis, glycogenolysis, hyperglycemia, hypoglycemia, and the fact that we store that glycogen in liver and muscle. But I told you that only the glycogen in the liver is the one that will tide us over until our next meal. The muscle doesn't share its own glycogen. It's for its own use, which makes sense because muscle uses a lot of energy. Then we looked at the fats, right? Also called lipids. And there's three major types. By the way, what are the atoms you need to make your fats? Atoms, same thing, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, right? But the hydrogen to oxygen is not 2:1 ratio. That's why I told you in the test, remember the composition. Right? Sometimes maybe instead of the word triglyceride, I'm going to have a chemical formula. C36, H22O6. You see it's not 2:1, that's a fat. Okay? There are three types, major types of fat. What are the three major types of fat? Triglycerides, cholesterol, phospholipids. Right? Which one is part of your adipose? Triglycerides. That's the one that you burn for calories. Right? That's our reserve energy. When you're out of your carbs, then you start tapping into the fat. Then, what's the function of your steroids? The parent molecule of which is cholesterol. That's the source of your steroid-based compounds, right? Like your estrogen, testosterone, etc. I told you that cholesterol keeps circulating in your body until you need it, right? Then, it will be grabbed by your liver to make whatever you need. If you already have enough of these steroid-based compounds, if you still have cholesterol, it just keeps circulating. That's why we worry about that. The triglycerides don't keep circulating. They're stored in your adipose. It's the cholesterol that just keeps circulating in your blood. That's why we said that if you have too much triglyceride, exercise will help. But too much cholesterol, exercise is not the answer. Diet is the answer. Or cholesterol lowering meds. And then the last fat is your phospholipids, which is what makes up your cell membrane. That's why I told you fat should be part of your diet. We shouldn't be afraid of fat. Now we're ready. Did we cover the proteins? Yeah. Now we're ready to look at the proteins. So this is another organic compound. You should know that the proteins are the most abundant organic compounds in the body. This is the most abundant organic compound in the body. And what atoms do you need to make proteins? C, H, O, and N. Another term for protein, they're called polypeptides. So you should know that. Polysaccharides are your carbohydrates, triglycerides, that's your fats. For proteins, it's called polypeptides. This is the only one that has the amino group, the letter N, right there. Nitrogen, right? Okay. Look at the many functions of proteins. It's a lot. For carbs, you know, it's just mainly for energy, you store it, maybe for bulk, etc. For fat, it's limited, but look at the function of proteins. It's the most abundant and it has the most responsibilities as far as maintaining homeostasis is concerned. Look. Antibodies, they are proteins. I'm sure you heard of collagen, that's the main framework of your bones. Keratin, your skin, your nails. Muscle protein. Look at, it's a lot. I'm not going to ask you to list the functions of protein. This is just a slide for us to appreciate why we have proteins. And then I want you to look at number 6. It says, and I'm sure you know that, you can also get calories from proteins. Everyone knows that. However, I want you to know that there is no such thing as energy protein in the body. What does that mean? It means that every protein inside your body has a name. It's called muscle protein, antibody, it's called keratin, it's called hormones. It's just not energy. Which means this is your last resort. If you're out of carbs, if you're out of fat, then you're going to have to start taking it from here. Like muscle protein. You're taking it away from muscle protein. Now you're converting it to energy. That's why people who starve, you know this, they have muscle wasting. Does that make sense? You're not every single protein is doing this. You can take it away from this to get energy. But it's not meant to be burned for energy. Okay? What is the reason why humans are not recommended or it's not advised for us to burn proteins for energy? The basic building blocks of proteins are amino acids. You must remember that. What's the basic building blocks of carbohydrates again?
Amino acids.
For carbohydrates, it's glucose. For proteins, it's amino acids. Okay? And then you should remember there's the C, H, O, and there's the N. This is the problem, the amino group. Humans do not have enzymes to extract the energy from the amino group. Our enzymes can break down the bonds between C to C, C to H. You can get the energy from those bonds, but we don't have the capacity to break down the bonds between the N and the H to the ammonia. So every time we break down those bonds, the one of the breakdown products is the ammonia group, right? And we know ammonia is toxic. Have you tried smelling ammonia? We use it for cleaning our jewelry, right? Just the smell is toxic. So every time people use this for energy, God loves us very much. The ammonia goes to the liver, which you must write down, and converts the ammonia to urea, which you must also write down. Even urea in high levels is toxic, so it must leave the body. How? Kidneys. So you send this to the kidneys. That's why it's called urine. You got that? So that's why sometimes people on high protein diet, you can smell that ammonia in their breath. Right? buildup of this one, the ammonia, are you familiar with like the South Beach diet? It can affect your nervous system. It's just upsetting the pH balance in the body. And